we get to where we are? What is the state of the world in the 21st century? And how can we co-create a future that's beneficial for all? I'm Seren Dalkiran, futurist and complexity scientist. Over the years, I've been establishing different leadership organizations that brings leaders across generations together to tackle the most pressing challenges of our time across science and society. Cultural historians would argue that throughout the course of human history, we always had a story to make sense of our time, to understand our present and navigate a future that we are capable of. Our old story is dying, and our new story has not been born yet. We are in between the stories, in a liminal phase. Perhaps this is a rite of passage, a phase of maturation in which we're undergoing a process from adolescence to adulthood, which is a very challenging process. What is the story of our time, and what is the role of young people in defining that story? What is the story of our generation? Today, we would like to take you on a journey. If you would imagine 4.6 billion years across the universe and an ancient legacy of the formation of the Earth. After bacteria, fungi, plants, and animals, we humans enter the story. If you would imagine this as a walk of 4.6 miles, only in the last 20 centimeters, we humans enter the story. On the length of an arm, this would be your fingertip. More strikingly, the Industrial Revolution, which marks the last 150 years, is the time which can be synonymous to 1/5 of a millimeter in this walk. This is the time in which we've caused the amount of mass destruction and geological impact that we are facing right now. We are living in turbulent times where we're facing crisis on a social, economic, ecological level, and also on a level of loss of meaning and purpose in our human societies. It can be argued whether there is, on a deeper root level, a crisis of values underneath these multiple levels. We are in times of many challenges, turbulent times, of both unprecedented crises as well as opportunities that this brings to us if we're capable to transform this into the next phase of our evolution. What kind of leadership do we need to navigate that? The leadership theorist Peter Drucker says that every few hundred years in history there occurs a sharp transformation. Within a few short decades, society, its worldview, its basic values, its social and political structures, its arts, its key institutions rearranges itself. We are currently living through such a time. Meanwhile, this is the age of techno-optimism, the age of automation and digitalization, which is marked by exponential breakthroughs in nano and biotechnology and artificial intelligence. And while we are advancing at such a tremendous rate and speed technologically, it can be argued whether morally and culturally we are regressing. How do we humanize the digital age? How can we preserve and evolve the human aspect? How can we develop social technologies, human intelligence, next to artificial intelligence? How can we develop maybe a so-called purpose paradigm to move into the next phase of our development? How can we unlock our human ingenuity and potential in a way that it serves human and planetary flourishing, in a way that we can truly move forward within planetary boundaries? We are living in times of transition. These are times where the exploration of new paradigms are key. We need new ways of learning, of leading, of cooperating, of thinking, of designing organizations and doing business. As Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems by the same level of thinking that created them. We need new ways. And next generations can help us in navigating that, not only from an inclusion perspective, but from a perspective in which they are the collaborators in the future prospects of the world. More than half of the world population are young people, millennials and Generation Z. Millennials are expected to comprise 75% of the global workforce in 2025. I did a PhD study in which I gathered data among leaders in 117 countries in our generation. I engaged in fieldwork in 28 countries across 6 continents and directly involved in many different youth leadership networks and summits where I met 5,000 youth leaders. Through my data, I found that next generation of leaders can be the potential carriers of the characteristics of new paradigms. They're inclined to a so-called values-based leadership. This means that they want to develop personally and align their personal development and values with their professional development, excel in their fields of occupation, and drive meaningful and lasting impact. To be able to do so, they need conducive environments for lifelong learning, in both education as well as the workplace, and they need to work across generations through mutual mentorship on equal grounds. And they value resilience, since they're facing so much uncertainty. How can young people be drivers of global change? How can they help us in defining new paradigms? What are the skill sets of the future that they need to equip themselves to succeed in their need to be purposeful and thrive and become resilient? How can they do that across generations? Can the field of futures and foresight help us in navigating some of the biggest questions of our time as next generations? And how can next generations help us to advance the field? Can the field help us in finding a common denominator, a shared framework of understanding in navigating the future across generations, disciplines, and sectors? Is this perhaps one of the missing links or some of the aspects that need to be strengthened? And if so, if this is the case in the larger equation, can we generate knowledge, raise awareness, and build community around it? Today, I'm absolutely honored to introduce incredible youth leaders that I met in the region, in the MENA region. My first visit to Dubai was more than a decade ago at one of the largest youth leadership conferences where I had the absolute honor to meet His Highness 𝗃𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗏, the ruler of Dubai. His powerful words are reflected in this building. The future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. It is not something you await, but rather create. These words stayed with me, and many engagements followed, like Expo 2020, the World Fair of Innovation, and the Dubai Future Forum that took place in this building, uniting futurists across the globe. I noticed that there is an inclination in the natural fabric of these leaders regarding these values in the exploration of new paradigms. The solidarity I found among them truly moved me and inspired me to bring this panel together. Today, these young leaders are going to present their visions, their call to actions to the impact of real-life examples that they have been generating as such meaningful drivers of change in their communities, from human to self, personal development and well-being, to human social change, to human to earth, sustainable development, to human to technology machine interface, and education and lifelong learning as an underlying fabric. We need to come together across generations, disciplines, and sectors. We need to collectivize and synergize our efforts. We do not discredit what generations before us have done and are willing to build further upon it. We do not to reinvent the wheel, but we're here to unfold, unpack, and unlock our own stories and also our collective stories, and partake in the process as collaborators in the future prospects of the world. Because if these are the time and we are the people, then if it's not us, who then? If it's not now, when? Thank you.
Thank Thank you so much, Seren. Hi, everyone. My name is 𝗀𝗵𝗲. I'm a member of the APF and also the UNESCO Chair for Future Studies for Anticipatory Governance and Sustainable Policymaking at Westminster International University in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. It's hard to fit on the business card. I'm delighted to help moderate today's panel, and we have so many amazing people to hear from today. The first is 𝗵𝗲. 𝗵𝗲, I'll ask you, as well as all the panelists, to introduce themselves before your presentation.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me? I need you more than anything. This is what youth, right? Okay, again. Hello everyone. Hello. Excellent. Okay, my name is 𝗵𝗲. I am an APF board member. I'm happy to take part in organizing this event, to have a beautiful group like yourself joining us today. I am also a futurist. I run my own podcast, 𝗏𝗏. Please follow us on Instagram and social media. Without further ado, I will be speaking today about our youth. We are living in the region, the MENA region, which has one of the highest youth percentage globally. More than 60% of our population are 30 years or less. This is a huge resource, huge potential for our future. And those numbers are projected to increase. 14% increase in this population from here till 2030. Think about this. What a huge momentum, what a huge potential that we have. To all the youth here, you are the future. In the region, 71% of our startups are started or established by our youth. You are leading the future. You are innovative, you are hardworking. You have the highest number of working hours and working days among or globally, which is amazing. Again, you are innovative, you are hardworking, and you can do it. Our future is bright. It's bright because of you, because all of the hard work and the innovation that you are putting forward. But guys, we have some challenges. Global challenges that are taking place in our region. Millions of people in this region are sick or protected or facing climate-induced displacement due to scarcity of resources, climate change, rising sea levels, you name it. More than 10 million unemployed youth in our region. And more than a third of our youth lives currently in conflict-affected areas. So the reality is challenging. More than 50% of our youth are motivated to leave MENA, which is disappointing, but it's also give us that sense of urgency that we need to act now. There is no time to waste. Our youth is our future. If they are leaving us, so what kind of future that will have? We, in the MENA region, and particularly our youth, we are looking for better jobs, better education, better health services, and more stability and security. Like everyone else in the world. But here in this region, it's more crucial because of the challenges that we are facing. Luckily, we have role models in Dubai. You can see, as if this is like your first time in the region, Dubai is playing like a role model that the Arab youth and the MENA youth, they are looking up to, and they can see that this is doable. They can do that. This is not something far from them. It's like a few hours flight. And the good thing, that out of those 50% youth that want to immigrate from the region, 50% of them, they want to come to Dubai. So this gives us hope that this is doable and we can replicate it in other part of our region. I will leave you with this question to all of us, especially the youth. What kind of vision for the future that you aspire to in 2040? Not only to think about that vision, but how you can translate it into action, how you can shape the future. So I invite all of you to think about this and, more importantly, to take action now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, 𝗵𝗲𝗃. I'm sure there are lots of questions. If there's time, we will, of course, have some interaction. If I could invite Hamid to come to the stage, please. Please, when you come up, also introduce yourself and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Like my colleague, Dr. 𝗵𝗲𝗃, we need a little bit of energy if we're going to represent the youth here, right? So one more time, let's do it again. Hello, everyone. Hello. There we go. Wonderful. So my name is 𝗵𝗲𝗃 𝗪𝗏. I believe everyone can hear my voice from here, right? Right? There we go. Let's see here. So my name is 𝗵𝗲𝗃 𝗪𝗏. I'm an innovation engineer within a government entity and futurist, speaker. The list goes on, and I don't have the time to say it. But anyhow, my main job here is to talk about the youth in Dubai. And to go about the youth, I want to just go back in the past. You have to understand what has happened in the past that have led to so much innovation and so much inspiration and the vision that has built what you see right here in Dubai or what you see in the United Arab Emirates. So as this country, it all starts with the leaders themselves. They're the one who put the values, the aspiration, the inspirations to the youth. They're the one who are giving the lead and the delegation to them to inspire other people, to inspire the youth from other countries, and to develop this country into what it is today. And it all started from the vision of 𝗃𝗂𝗲𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗃, may God rest his soul, who was the founding father of the United Arab Emirates. And it was through his vision that he's seen the unity of 7 Emirates working together to develop into this country that we have today. And it was through his children, 𝗃𝗂𝗲𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗃, may God rest his soul, who looked into the initiatives and looked into improving the youth to prepare them for the future that was coming ahead. With a lot of challenges that are happening right now in the world, a lot of initiatives were built throughout the past years to develop those youth, specifically all the youth that we see here right now in this generation and the generation that are coming after. And we continue this type of leadership, seeing from Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who has also continued the past values, inspirations, and looking upon the initiatives that were put on this country to develop the youth that we have today. The recent impact that I can talk about is one of Sheikh Abdullah's initiatives, where we're looking into placing COP28 that's happening in November of this year within this country, where the youths, from diplomats to students to a lot of other youths that are going to be part of this initiative, part of representing the United Arab Emirates. We even have a youth who's representing the United Arab Emirates in the United Nations. They have entrusted this trust, this honor to the youth to showcase for the other countries how we can give the responsibility to those young members and they can represent the country themselves. So I can say that the future of the youth that we have here is bright. And I'm blessed as to be here in a country where they look upon those youth, develop them, and ensure that they can be the leaders of the future. Now, to go with the takeaway, as my colleague Dr. Seren has mentioned, that the key message here that we have, that the future belongs to those that imagine it, design it, and execute it, which is a quote by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai and the Vice President of UAE and the Prime Minister. And if it wasn't for those UAE leaders, if it wasn't for their values, for their inspirations, and for their efforts that they have done to develop all the initiatives and every program that you would see here, right here in Dubai, we wouldn't have been here. It's through their efforts, their hard work, that they have developed the youth, the path, so they can go to a bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hamid. I would like to invite now our panelists to the stage. So if I could ask May, Raghav, Dana, Haya, Mohammed, and very excited to announce we have a special guest star, Риэл. If I could ask you all to come forward here. And enter on either side. Yes, please help us. We're going to start off with Raghav. So maybe Raghav, I'll ask you to stay here. And to kick things off. Clicker's here. There's a mic here for you as well.
Well, hello. How are you guys doing? Good. Would you mind if I take a moment and just breathe so I can settle in here so I can talk to you? I really need it. So. All right, let me introduce myself really quick because I know we don't have that much time for me to kind of just breathe here. My name is 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗂𝗧. I'm the founder and CEO of 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗂. 𝗧𝗵 means community inside street. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 means sustainability in Arabic. I'm also an internationally certified holistic health and wellbeing coach. I'm a 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗧 advocate, white 20 delegate last year. But what does that all mean? Let me take you on a journey. So, when I was around the age of 6 or 10, my aunt used to come to me and ask me, "How's your soul doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "What have you done for your soul?" I'm like, "What does that even mean?" And I think that got me like wondering what it meant. But she wouldn't just leave me there. She would come and tell me, "Let me teach you a few things that you could do if you want prosperity, if you want ease, if you want knowledge." And she'd teach me a few words. And I was, just like, you can try. They're powerful. And I would go and try, and then I used to come back to her and like, teach me more. And that's an inspiration that I received that kind of expanded my vision. But then it also kind of triggered my curiosity. I want to understand more. I want to dive into that more. So it triggered a lot of questions. But the more I asked questions, I realized the answers I'm receiving are very similar, are very repetitive. And that really triggered me. I was scared because it meant one thing. It meant that we all have similar questions, and we received one single answer, and we're not really thinking for ourselves. Imagine how many people out here are getting the same answers that they received when they asked the questions that I did. But that's it. They took it and moved on, and they grew up without even exploring it. What a shame. But it kept me also wondering, if that's the case, how can we change it? Why are we here? What does it mean to be human? And how can we change it? So, as a teenager, as I grew up, of course, I was frustrated, and I was just like challenging. I was not out of like anger, but there is anger for sure, but out of also wanting to change, wanting to explore more beyond what could exist. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your answer is correct. That's why you're repeating it. But I needed to kind of make sure. But then, in school they teach us about all those historical figures, right? And they were scientists, they were poets, they were philosophers, all those things. But when my turn came to choose a major, I was forced to choose one thing. And that really annoyed me. I was like, why am I supposed to be one thing when I know I can do so much more? When you talk to me about all those historical figures that we still talk about and celebrate, but when it's my turn, I have to pick one thing. And I was like, if that's what I have to do and go through, then what is the one thing that I could pick to ensure that changes? So I decided, I've made a promise to myself. I said, you're not allowed to complain until you do something about it. So I decided to study politics and international relations. And then I did my master's in public policy. And as a Saudi female, back then, I was told, I don't know if you have a future in that kind of field. Saudi female, I don't know. Study business, study anything else, you can still create change. But they were wrong, because as soon as I graduated from my master's, there was the launch of Saudi Vision 2030. And who were they looking for? Someone who's prepared. And I learned a huge lesson there in that moment. We are all born with this desire. There's something that kind of pushes you. Everything in your reality at that time didn't make sense. But there's like a guidance system. There's something bigger there that we usually don't listen to and limits us. When we are in high school and we're picking a major, we're usually guided to pick something that is relevant today. But you're not acting today. You're acting for a few 5, 6 years. Why not listen to that? So when I told you I have no future as a female, I had to kind of guarantee a future for myself. So I was working nonstop. Any NGO, any opportunity, anything, get me involved. And right then, I was selected to go to UNESCO, and I worked there for 2 years. And when I was at UNESCO, I realized something very important. Organizations are just like nations. Their success and failure is centered with people. And then COVID hits, and I realized something bigger. The state, I want you to really imagine that what I say right now. If you want to close your eyes and hear it, feel free to do so. The state of the world, imagine the state of the world, the good, the bad, that exists, is nothing but a reflection of the state of the citizens of the world. The state of the world is nothing but a reflection of the state of the citizens of the world. And that's when I decided to come back to Saudi and start my company, which is called 𝗧𝗵𝗲. And it's mainly driven by that statement. So I wanted to guarantee, so if that statement is accurate, how can we set a standard for every single individual that comes into this life? For them to be well, conscious, green, active citizens. That's the standard we want. Nothing less, nothing more. We all deserve to be well, conscious, green, active citizens. I'd love one more, just in case I missed something that you guys see that you have it. So as we go on, let me know. So I decided to create this program that is based on 𝗵𝗲 positive psychology, the 5 elements of well-being. So P for positive emotions. How can you understand your emotions in this guided system? So remember my story. How can you really understand how to manage your emotions? They're there to guide you. It's not who you are, it's a guided system. How can you trigger positive emotions as well? Engagement. What are your characteristics? And how can you pick your career or major that you're choosing based on your characteristics? Strength. And science says if you do that and activate your characteristics on a daily basis, your well-being and satisfaction increase. If your well-being and satisfaction increase or productivity increase, there's simple equations. It starts with you, but we usually don't give it that much work and attention. Positive relationships, the art of listening, the art of communication, tolerance and compassion to build healthy societies. Meaning, what it means to be human. What is your purpose here? Why are you here? What are your values? How can you become a life detective and understand that everything happens for a reason? Nothing is a coincidence. The fact that you're here and your life takes you through a sequence of events is there to guide you more and more towards your purpose. Be a life detective. Approach yourself with curiosity. Understand that you're very valuable. Understand your worth so you can share it. Your life is data. Give it its worth, and it will be worth. It will have an impact on society, on the economy. Just contribute, share it. But you can only do that when you understand your worth, when you understand why you're here. And accomplishment. How can you give back? And we're looking at that as the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And we usually say, approach your subconscious mind as a soil. Everything that you tell yourself is mentality is a seed that is planted. How can you approach it and see what flourishes and what weeds that you can get out and stores your soil? And how can you plant new beliefs and new values and new goals? And we actually do through our planting session. Just to have that a bit of interactive planetary well-being approach to it, because there's not really a disconnect between who you are and the environment and nature and the 𝗵𝗲 ecosystem. Imagine if we just started learning in different ways, playful ways, interactive, engaging ways. And that's what we're trying to do. I think we live in a time, and we're going to continue to hear that throughout the session. We need to rethink the status quo and embrace new ways of thinking and actively engage in widespread system innovation. We tend to forget that we are the system. You are the system. Who you are, what you believe manifests becomes the system, becomes the new norm. And our current education system is built on the Industrial Revolution model, in IQ alone. And as we live in an AI-driven world, that doesn't work. We need emotional intelligence, we need resilience. So what kind of steps do we need to take in order for us to reach there? So my vision for the world truly is to revolutionize the education system, prioritize well-being, emotional intelligence, and leadership in education. Because there's the challenges we're facing today and the future we're trying to envision need specific kind of leaders. But our education system didn't change to meet that. When are we going to take that seriously if we really want that change to happen? If we really want to achieve the sustainable goals? And I'd like that to manifest itself into transition to a well-being economy, an economic system that puts people and the planet in the center of decision-making, an economic system that measures growth based on well-being factors rather than GDP alone. And there's a lot of real-life examples that kind of taking us right that direction. From Sangha, in UAE, we have the Well School Network and the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. So I think what will help us to kind of reach that point is a process of learning and unlearning and advocating and collaborating. And I would like to share with you the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. It's like a alliance of governments, organizations, startups, individuals, and youth who really advocate for a well-being economy and that transition. There's hubs all over the world, but in our region there's none. So if you're interested to learn more, it's a community where they share research, collaborate, creating hubs, advocate, just join and learn, expand, challenge. I urge you to check it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reinhard. Dana, if I could ask you to come forward. Dana will be speaking on human to human. Please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody. Well, thanks for sharing the inspiring work that you do. I can't help but think about this quote by Rumi where he says, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself." And while this quote usually emphasizes this notion of like we need to embody the change we want to see in the world, I believe that social change is not a solo job, which is what we'll be talking about today. But first, let me introduce myself. There I am. My name is Dana. I work for a consultancy called 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏, and I mainly work with the community team. And I consider myself a community architect, a community curator, and facilitator. And if you don't understand what any of those words mean, that's totally okay. I've been working at this for 2 years, and my parents still don't know what I do. But just to go back to 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏, and I think having this background is important. 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏 is a strategic design and innovation consultancy with hubs both in Istanbul and Dubai. And we have four main practices, one being architecture, the second sustainability, third is learning and education, and the fourth being community design. And what makes 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏 really special is that we call ourselves a community-powered organization. So, and that's been part of our DNA since we first started 10 years ago in Istanbul. So we're community-powered because at 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏 we firmly believe that tackling complex problems cannot be solved through a single voice or a single discipline. So instead, we bring a diverse community and our transdisciplinary team to collaborate together. So in addition to our full-time team, we actually we nurture a community of creative leaders, innovators, design practitioners futurists, strategists, architects, facilitators, all who are driven by impact, or who are passionate by impact. Now, I realize I probably said the word community a lot more than you're used to. So, and it's my job, so sorry, but we're going to hear it a lot more today. I thought maybe we could uncover what I mean by the word community together. So, the concept of community is as old as humanity. Since the first moment humans started to communicate with one another, we built relationships, told each other stories, and made sense of the world together. With that, we've developed this need for togetherness, which is the seed of community, and that seed is embedded in all of us. Now, the function of community probably has evolved over time. So community used to be a very place-based notion. You were traditionally born into it, but with technology and globalization, your location no longer is the key definer of your community. So instead, today we choose our communities based on who and what we identify with, and there could be more than one. And we've also gone from seeking protection and survival to seeking growth with others around shared passions or interests. But here's the thing, I think we hear the word community used a lot in so many different contexts that we diluted the definition. So I think community is much more than gathering people together under one place or platform over a shared purpose. Instead, I think what completes the constellation of community is 1, the feeling of belonging, 2, the act of reciprocity, and 3, caring about and supporting one another. So as part of my work at 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏, along with my wonderful teammates, is that I help create an environment for people to find their peers, to feel less alone, to feel supported, and to realize that there are others who think the way they do and want to act accordingly. So we framed the what. Now let's talk about the so what, or the impacts of community. So let me, I usually shy away from this question because I feel like the system that we operate in these days, or right now, celebrates numbers and dollar signs, and I feel like quantifying something that is so relational does not do the impact justice. But every year at 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏, we assess our impact in various areas, and here's a direct statement from the 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 Impact Micro website about our community's impact. So in the past year, our members have collaborated, have collaborated with us on multidisciplinary projects with diverse scopes. Now let me give you more context with numbers. In the past year, I've reviewed over 300 applications for people wanting to join the community, and I've had over 100 one-on-one discussions with these individuals, many of whom we've invited to the community based on their values, but also their areas of practice. But being able to connect with such great individuals, but also facilitating opportunities for them to work on projects that they actually care about, is certainly something worth celebrating. Now let's continue reading. Our community and people in our wider network came together at our public events that set the scene for inspiring conversations. We've hosted about 50 public events, and curating content or even co-creating content with community members in order to inspire conversation and knowledge exchange is something worth celebrating too. But after reflecting on all these numbers, I realized there's a critical subtitle that's missing here. And that is, what keeps our community together is the relationships among members, myself included. And the only way we can create impact is through the strength of these bonds between our members, not with the actual number of members. Without relationships, there's no trust, and that means no collaboration. I get the privilege to see these bonds grow, John, no. I get the privilege to see these bonds grow through what one of my dear colleagues calls intangible moments every single day. Some examples of these moments is when a community member openly shares their experience and resources to encourage another member to evaluate an important decision, members taking time to give feedback on a sticky situation that someone stepped on, or even members showing up today to watch a very nervous public speaker, but community member speak. I could go on, but the point is, these are the moments that make my work worthwhile. And I firmly believe that it's accumulation of these intangible moments that make the community stronger. And these strong bonds are what catalyzes our community to mobilize collectively and effectively, especially in the name of impact. So I'd like to share with you an example of this, and I'm sharing this publicly for the first time. But it's been over 2 months since the 7.8 magnitude earthquake shook and devastated Turkey and Syria. Since then, 𝗿𝗏𝗰𝗁, in addition to our community members and our community partners, namely 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏, they brought together over 200 people and over 100 organizations at 𝗿𝗏𝗃 in Istanbul, and have led the way for more than 20 new projects to take life, focused on mid to long-term earthquake relief and preparedness efforts in areas such as fundamental needs, spaces, governance, and sustainability. While the urgency of the disaster might have expedited the motion to action, it is a collaborative, genuine, caring, and multidisciplinary approach that is what led to these tangible outcomes. Outcomes that didn't need leaders and followers, but instead they trusted the facilitators and conveners who leveraged their relational capacities to help seed the possibility of a different reality, and 3, iterated and collaborated upon with the collective. Now, if a relatively small group is capable of making such impact, let us imagine what could happen if a community-powered approach was multiplied across organizations, institutions, or even cities. There's a fair share of wicked problems that we need to address. And what I have learned from my experience, and what I'd like to share with you today, is that the key to solving the complex systemic long-term problems across sectors and levels is that we need to address them together. And for that, we need future leaders to start harnessing the relational potential in order to enable social change. Now, I'm totally aware that the social technology that comes with building community is not something novel or groundbreaking, but the reality is we live in a world that encourages individual achievement and that is continuously designing for isolation. So we need to start correcting that. So what now? I can tell you right now, I didn't go to community school. I went to engineering and business school. So there's no program I could recommend, and I'm not sure you need it. But if COVID highlighted anything, is that community and togetherness is in our nature. We just need to be more intentional about community now and start practicing it again. I love this metaphor shared by a community practitioner that I personally admire. Community is like a muscle that grows when you practice together. He explains that if we practice regularly, the muscle will become stronger. And if we don't practice, it will start to fade. And in the context of community, the muscle metaphor becomes collective. Through repeat practice, I can not only strengthen my own habit, but the collective behavior too. So being at the Museum of the Future and at APF's 20th anniversary gathering, I want to connect my world to your world. I'm going to leave you with a few questions. How might a community-powered approach evolve the field of futures and foresight? What possibilities or new realities could be imagined when you embrace pluralistic views and beliefs? And how might we ensure that the futures we realize prioritize togetherness and belonging as essential parts of our social fabric? Thank you for your time, and if you ever want to chat about community, let's keep in touch. And feel free to scan the QR code. I've put in all the resources so you could start warming up your community muscles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana, and for graciously staying the time as much as possible. We realize lots to share, and for bringing forward questions that in fact do build community. We'll talk a little bit more about how we interface this with the APF gathering, but now I would like to welcome Aya to come forward. She'll be talking about human village.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, June. Thank you, Sara and Raghat, for speaking about self to self and self to human. And I made sure that you all know that I'm going to speak about human to earth with the green slides and the green 𝗪𝗵𝗱𝗁. So this is my field of expertise, and I'm going to be talking about three things today. We're going to talk about realities, dreams, and then we're going to play a game at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you for wearing green. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Haya, and I am the Global Council on Climate Action representative. I also lead the Arabic Council for Climate Change. We're empowering youth on the road to COP28, and the introduction goes on and on. But I put two pictures of my life just for you to get to know me more. So let me ask a question. By a simple raise of hand, let me know what picture do you think resembles my area of expertise more. Raise your hand if you think it's picture number one. Okay. So this is picture number one. Okay, and raise your hand if you think it's picture number two. So, although the picture number one is where I was a simple tourist in the beautiful city of Salalah, and picture number two is where I was not negotiating the youth involvement in COP27, the pillar of mitigation. So it is indeed picture number two where I was actually contributing to my area of expertise. But did I place picture number one for complete randomness? No, I didn't. When we talk about how we are evolving with our planet Earth, we tend to forget to mention how we are connected to Earth. So we talk a lot about human to Earth, but let me talk first about Earth to human. And what do I mean by this? Do I mean that spending time in nature reduces stress? I mean, maybe. Do I mean that connecting with Earth reminds us that we are part of a bigger community? Also perhaps, but most importantly, it reminds us that the well-being of ourselves and the well-being of our planet are interdependent, and the consequences of the actions we take today are going to affect our future. So let's look at our realities, and let me tell you some facts. Here's how we are contributing to Earth. We're losing forests at a rate of 27 soccer fields per minute. And I don't know if we have any soccer fans, but you can tell how huge that is. Since I started my speech, we have lost one species of animal. One species went extinct. And by the end of the day, we're going to lose 150 more. And thanks to our pollution efforts, WHO says that we lose 7 million premature deaths every single year. And if I am to do the math, then by the time all the panelists finish their speeches, we'd have lost 360 lives. Did I depress you? Sorry, Raghat. All the positive emotions you spread, I just scattered them. But no, we're here to talk about the future, so let's talk about dreams or realities, and I'm going to give you a few thoughts and let me know if you think these are far-fetched dreams or actual realities. Are we ready? You don't sound like it. Alright, solar blast. Imagine if every window, every tower and skyscraper produced energy. Is this a far-fetched dream or a reality? It's a reality. The University of Michigan students have actually produced prototypes of the solar blast. Concept number 2, plant-based plastics that are made out of pure plants. A far-fetched dream or a reality? It's actually a reality. Indonesian companies have been producing plastics, biodegradable plastics, since 2014. Third concept. Industrial facilities with no carbon emission harm to the atmosphere, a far-fetched dream or a reality? Well, not exactly a reality, but carbon capture and storage facilities do provide up to 90% of efficiency right away. So a lot of other concepts of space-based solar powers, artificial photosynthesis, and vertical farming skyscrapers, these are all not far-fetched dreams, but realities. And this is something we tend to forget, but the future, or what we think of as the future, is actually closer to our realities than we think. Shall we play the game? Yeah? No games? Anyone wants to play? Alright. So here's how it goes. I'm going to give you words. And if you think that this word relates to you, to your personal life, to your everyday to-day life, raise your hand. Cool? If you don't think that, just don't raise your hand. I'm going to start with coffee. If you think coffee relates to you by any means, please raise your hand. Alright. Thank you. If you think that climate-resistant plants relate to your personal life, please raise your hand. A lot of clients. Alright. If you think that chocolate relates to your personal life, please raise your hand. And if you think that rainfall patterns are part of your daily life, please raise your hands. A room full of scientists. If you think that anxiety triggers anything or is related to you, raise your hand. You think loss of biodiversity is a personal word, please raise your hand. Alright, thank you. So it's no wonder that we have seen hands raised on some words more than the other, but why so? The reason is simply because we tend to think of things more personal or more closer to our day-to-day lives as others. I have worked with more than 20,000 youth all over the MENA region. And if I'm going to give you statistics, I'm going to give it based on studies that were done in America. 55% of Americans believe that climate change and sustainability is nothing related to their personal lives. So what's the solution to that? Personalizing the cause. If I tell you that you are going to lose your cup of coffee by 2050, then all of a sudden climate-resistant plants and the research that is done to protect the coffee crop becomes personal to you. If I tell you that the areas or the ground by which we grow the cocoa plant in are suffering because of changing rainfall patterns, and all of a sudden rainfall patterns becomes more closer to your own life, and so on and so forth. If I say more than 70 Arab youth are facing anxiety because of unstable economic situations, then loss of biodiversity and how it relates to economic instability becomes more personal to you. So personalizing the cause is the only way you can make it more effective and more closer to you, and by which you can reduce the action. I'm going to leave you with this. The future is always more uncertain than the present. The future is more uncertain than the present, and that's why we tend to value the present more than the future, and we call this the present bias. And guess what? The present bias doesn't work for things that are personal to us. So I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes. Don't be shy, close your eyes. And I want you to think of all the things that are personal to you. And if it's not your own well-being and the well-being of our planet, then what is? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaya, and for also introducing play into the equation. Delighted to introduce up next Mohammed, who will be talking about human to machine. Mohammed, please also introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. And thank you, 𝗪𝗵𝗀. If you want to smile like 𝗪𝗵𝗀 in that first picture, then I invite all of you to the beautiful Salalah. The Kharif season starts in June, July, so it'll turn green. So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, fellow dreamers, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. I'm so proud to share the stage with these incredible change makers. They are all leaders in their own right. I'm truly honored. My name is 𝗵𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗵𝗁, and I am the program manager of the Pearl Initiative for the Governance in Tech, as well as the Governance in Family Firms program. I'm also the Middle East Coordinating Ambassador for One Young World, the global community for young leaders. From a very young age, I have always been fascinated by three things: stories, technology, and making the world a better place. Growing up, I would read, listen, and watch almost everything, obsessively. And it's probably still the case today. You can ask my friends, they will attest to that. Now, before I tell you more about myself, I want to know a little bit more about you. How many of you have watched The Jetsons? Please raise your hands. Okay, fair few of you. How about 𝗵𝗵𝗰𝗁? Okay, good amount too. Just out of curiosity, what about I Am Legend? I can't help but feel these Will Smith movies in the future kept getting bleaker and bleaker as 𝗪𝗵𝗂 got older. And it's probably getting worse, right? As a child, I was obsessed with the Jetsons. It influenced me profoundly. I would take apart my toys and try to build a robot of my own. But alas, 6-year-old me just did not have a profound understanding of electrical, computer, or mechanical engineering. So I failed. But as I grew older, the depictions of robots in the media became a little stranger. This idea of consciousness in the robot made them at odds with their human creators. And it created an apocalyptic feel around AI. I don't know if that's why we have such a fear and anxiety around AI, but I suspect it played a role. We should not fear our interactions with machines, but we should think deeply about the world we want to build. Because for the first time in human history, technology has the potential to take us into a whole different realm. Today, we are more reliant on technology than ever before. The robots I dreamed of as a child spoke to us, they talked to us, they served us coffee. But the robots of today are very different. They live with us in our pockets. And the most advanced of these robots know everything about us. But these algorithms determine what we see, when we see it, and they understand how we behave. But it was not the robots who decided to act this way. Our creations are merely a reflection of ourselves. We are the Jekyll and they are the Hyde. These algorithms are tied in with human incentives and capitalism. That is why we cannot stop doom scrolling on Instagram and TikTok. We often think that changes in technology happens in leaps and bounds. But the truth is that it is the amalgamation of centuries of learning, discovery, and innovation. The difference is we are now compressing centuries of learning into minutes and decades into seconds. That is the pace of innovation today. And that is the potential of AI. But we need to decide today what that future looks like. AI and capitalism in their current forms are just not compatible. Don't get me wrong, capitalism helped us alleviate poverty and bring about innovation to cure diseases. It made the world a safer place. I challenge you to say any different. We have the data to prove it. But with technology like AI, it can also increase inequalities and widen the wealth gap even further. So what future do we want? Just as the nuclear age forced us to think beyond our own selfish needs and goals and consider the existential threat of technology, so too must we address the challenges that AI presents. Let us learn from history and strive to create a future where AI serves humanity, where we can live in harmony with our creations, and where technology truly makes the world a better place. Imagine a world where AI is put to work on solving our climate crisis. AI can help us identify the most effective strategies for reducing greenhouse gases emissions and conserve natural resources. It can also help us to develop more efficient energy sources and optimize our energy consumption. Imagine a world where AI-powered systems manage our energy grids, balancing demand and supply in real time, reducing waste and optimizing the use of renewable energy sources. Imagine AI-driven agriculture that maximizes crop yields while minimizing water and fertilizer use, leading to sustainable food production. By leveraging AI, we can build a world where our environmental footprint is significantly reduced, and we can work towards mitigating the effects of climate change. Imagine the potential of AI in healthcare. Through machine learning and advanced data analysis, AI can assist in the early detection of diseases, improve diagnosis accuracy, and develop personalized treatment plans. AI-powered tools can also help us better understand the genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors that contribute to disease and empower individuals to make informed decisions about their health. Picture a world and a future where AI aids in the development of new drugs, significantly reducing the time and cost associated with bringing life-saving treatments to market. Imagine an AI-driven healthcare system that provides personalized care, ensuring that patients receive the right treatment at the right time. In this future, AI is a catalyst for revolutionizing healthcare and improving the quality of life for people across the globe. This is the potential. But if we are not careful, we will succumb to the most basic of our human instincts, to put greed before common prosperity. Make no mistake, this is not an all or nothing. This is not a zero-sum game. We will falter and stumble, and there will be compromises. We should not strive for perfection, and we must not stand in the way of progress. But when we move forward together. When I asked you to raise your hands, you looked around to see who else watched the Jetsons, and you smiled when you knew that there was others who shared that emotion and that moment with you. This is what we must protect, because this is our humanity. And I think it's safe to say that the robots will never replicate that or truly appreciate or understand that. The future I imagined watching the Jetsons all those years ago was one where humans and machines live together in harmony. But ultimately, the machines serve humans to make this world a better place for all of us. So I leave you with this. In a world where, thanks to AI, we can be anything, who do we want to be? The decisions we make today profoundly impact our future. We have a choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. We've been talking so much about images of the future. A quick fun fact about the Jetsons. It was the first show, not cartoon show, to appear in color on ABC. And it ran for 1 year. That was it, 60 years ago. So we talk about the lasting impact of images of the future. That was a great message to bring forward. I'm delighted to welcome now May and Brielle. From the School of Humanity, they'll be talking about education and lifelong learning. And please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Good? Great. My name is May Dickinson, and I'm Head of Growth and Admissions at School of Humanity. For those of you who don't know, School of Humanity is a breakthrough online high school reinventing our approach to education. And today I'll be joined by one of our learners, Brielle, And we are going to be showing you the necessity for education in creating meaningful impact for our next generation of futurists. But before we get on to that, I wanted to take a step back and first ask why. Why change? Why do we need to reinvent our approach to education? And why is education so integral in ensuring that the next generation of futurists are equipped to create meaningful change and long-lasting impact? We are all here today because we know the world is changing fast. From the development of new technologies like artificial intelligence and virtual reality, it is clear that our world is really changing at a rapid pace. Yet, our world really remains riddled with complex global challenges. For example, how can we promote sustainability in an era of climate change? How can we ensure equitable access to healthcare and to education for learners all around the world? And how can we be certain that in a time of such technological change and progression, that the world's poorest communities have a voice? In fact, there's also a growing recognition that the current education system is not preparing learners for the future of work. It is ill-equipped to prepare learners to grapple with these types of complex questions. For example, the changing landscape of the future of work is showcasing to us this global skills gap, where actually learners are not prepared for the future of the workforce. With a focus of standardization, memorization, and exams, our education system is not allowing young futurists to generate impactful change about problems that they truly care about. And the global skills gap is actually set to forecast to cost G20 countries $11.5 trillion in GDP growth. So we have this tension and this problem between what we need from education in preparing young futurists to generate change and to be prepared for the future of the workforce, and the reality, which focuses on memorization, standardization, and exams. School of Humanity exists to solve this very problem. School of Humanity is a breakthrough online high school reinventing education, so forget everything you think you know about school. At School of Humanity, our learners learn by tackling real-world challenges every single term and developing their own meaningful projects and solutions to problems they truly care about. Our curriculum is based on research from the OECD and World Economic Forum on the skills needed for the jobs of the future and the tools for whole human flourishing. This approach to education is truly personalised, interdisciplinary, and applicable to the real world as we prepare the next generation of changemakers to make an impact. So I'm sure you're all sitting here at the moment and thinking, okay, this sounds interesting, but how does this work in practice? How do we actually see this in real life? So I thought it was best to walk you through one of the challenges which our learners tackled last term, which was the Food, Water and Energy Security Challenge. Now this challenge was an interdisciplinary deep dive into some of the world's most vital resources across the world. Learners on this challenge explored how food, water and energy security are linked. They looked at the stresses and tensions between them, and most importantly, they questioned how we can ensure such access to these vital resources all around the world. Now today's panel has shown the necessity for change and progress across 4 key impact areas. So I'm going to showcase to you, along with 𝗵𝗶, how through just one term in the School of Humanity and through one challenge in a 4-year high school program, our learners were able to grapple with questions and problems among all 4 impact areas. First up, we have personal change, and you can see some of our learners on the screen here. We were learning today about the really impactful impact our own actions have on the world around us. And this was one of the first problems our learners looked into during this challenge. By examining their own water footprints, our learners are actually able to identify and explore how their own actions have a direct impact on the world around us. Not only did this enable them to make more eco-friendly choices, but it also allowed them to question how their own actions really impact society and change. Next up, we have environmental change with a nice green slide. And one of our really key areas for environmental change here that learners were looking into was the industrial agricultural system, and how it is currently unsustainable. Through a micro-internship with one of our organizations, School of Humanity was able to allow our learners to come up with a new plan. Learners on this challenge developed systems thinking with circular economy principles to develop a new plan for regenerative farming, which mimics a natural ecosystem and brings together communities around the world. Next, we have technological change. We know that renewable energy is vital in our fight against climate change, and that solar energy in particular is very important. Yet one of our learners was actually learning about how in some countries it is really difficult to access this type of technology and solar electricity because of the fact of harsh weather conditions. So Sophia, who you can see up there, developed an artificial intelligence weather prediction model to solve this problem. And last up, we have social change. We know that sometimes cultural differences can be a barrier to meaningful social connection, and as such, human progress. Learners on this challenge are able to explore the role of food as being a universal language, one which can transcend cultures and connect people together from all walks of life. And through exploring this challenge, our learners were also able to question some more meaningful and impactful issues in the world, such as access to food and food insecurity globally. And with that, I'm going to pass over to 𝗵𝗵𝘰𝗁, who is one of our high school learners at School of Humanity. She is going to be sharing with you her vision for the future and the project she worked on at School of Humanity last term.
Thank you, May. Hello everyone, my name is 𝗵𝗲𝗁𝗁. I'm 15 years old and I'm a School of Humanity learner based in Dubai. I have some experience in innovating ideas for companies, international projects, and solution-based hiring. I joined School of Humanity so that I can create meaningful changes through projects each term. I decided to leave traditional school so I can pursue my passion whilst also tackling real-world problems. Each term in School of Humanity, we choose challenges instead of courses. For the Food, Water, and Energy Security Challenge, I was on a mission to tackle food insecurity. Food insecurity is not having access to sufficient food to meet one's basic dietary needs. Did you know that the world produces enough food to feed 1.5 times the global population, and yet 800 million people worldwide go to bed hungry? I decided to tackle this issue because millions of people are suffering from malnourishment, and I want to use my education and my knowledge to help them. As a society, we waste more than we consume. 33% of food goes to waste out of the 4 billion metric tons of food produced annually, and 40% of this food waste comes from restaurants only. To tackle this issue, I designed an AI-powered app that connects fertilizer companies to restaurants in their area who keep their food waste at the end of each operating day. The main aim of this app is to promote circular economy whilst repurposing food waste by turning it into compost or fertilizer. The process of building my app had a lot to do with learning UI/UX design, which is a completely new concept for me at that time. My facilitator walked me through the basic areas of designing a user interface for my app. Later on, I learned to create a wireframe, which enabled me to envision the user's journey through my app. This learning journey enabled me to put my vision into action. Throughout the process of planning and building my prototype, I learned new concepts such as food insecurity and artificial intelligence, new skills such as UI/UX design and futures thinking, which enabled me to think in longer terms and decide how to reduce food waste, and key dispositions like abundance mindset. Over the next 3 years of my high school learning journey, I am excited to create new projects which have a positive impact on our society. My vision for the future is to end poverty and food insecurity, given their profound impact on our society. There is a well-known Chinese proverb that states, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." That's the step I'm taking. Thank you.
is just one of thousands of learners worldwide who, when equipped with this type of education, will go on to become our next generation of changemakers and futurists. Now, we're all here today because we know we cannot make change alone. We truly believe that reinventing education to better serve humanity is a global movement, one which involves passionate governments, individuals, and organisations all around the world. I'd love to invite you to join us on our mission of reinventing education to allow young learners to make meaningful change. Please reach out to me via may@𝗧𝗵𝗲 to find out how we can collaborate and ensure that our next generation of futurists are able to create inspiring futures for themselves and for humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's hard not to feel absolutely inspired, although I'm sure there's a bit of tiredness in there as well, given it's the second day of what has been a truly overwhelming series of engagements and conversations. And so we're delighted to bring this together a bit before, of course, we move to the closing session, and we'll have a little bit of a logistics reminder. But first, please help me in thanking all of our panelists as well, including Rafa and Hamid, who are still with us. On a personal note, I have to say that I was 15 years old when I dropped out of high school. I then went on to get a PhD and now teach at university, but I wish I had a School of Humanity, and I'm absolutely inspired by 𝗲𝗏 and her amazing journey. So thank you so much for sharing that. We've already talked a little bit about this, and just to give those of you who are unfamiliar a bit with the context, this panel is happening within the framework of the 20th gathering of the Association of Professional Futurists, a body that was formed specifically to support the enhancement of excellence and practice among people who call themselves futurists and foresight practitioners. And so over the last 2 days, we've had a number of conversations, and a lot of that has also gone back to this big question. What's our role? What's our place? What's our function? What exactly should we be doing, especially in times of crises? And I always come back to this quote from the extraordinary futurist 𝗵𝗵𝗁, whose work was brought forward by the global peace builder 𝗵𝗵𝗰𝗁𝘂, that ultimately there is a space, and of course a necessary function, to try to find places and to see the opportunities to help to create really positive images of the future and to bring, again, those voices forward. So really want to thank the panelists and of course the APF for creating the space for this as well. We're going to wrap up in just a bit, but before we do, we really want the person who is the dynamic and the driver for this, Seren, to speak just a little bit and to bring it home. So Seren, over to you.
Thank you, John, and thank you again to the Association of Professional Futurists. I'm one of their emerging fellows, and to the Dubai Future Foundation for hosting this. Thank you, Dana, Haya, Ragad, Mohammed, Riel, and May for being with us. Your stories are a true testimony of the kind of change that we need in our times. In the exploration of new paradigms, the need for new leadership, the role of our generation, you embody what is necessary in these fields. And your organizations, 𝗏𝗏𝗰𝗁𝗂, the Arab Youth Center, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗂, also to One Young World Middle East, and the School of Humanity, I'm very grateful for what we brought together. We look forward to explore further synergies. All of you mentioned in some way, what is the true pursuit of innovation? What truly advances us forward as humans and as a planet? And what do we need to be able to do so? We will keep building upon your insights, explore further synergies, and build and convene community around it to work towards the future that we are capable of. Thank you everyone for being with us.